Alethea Felton, and welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast. If you're struggling in your life with self-sabotaging and negative thoughts that leave you feeling stuck and limit you from moving forward, I can help you. As a holistic health and empowerment coach, I help people identify, challenge, and conquer those thoughts in order to make simple and practical changes to improve overall wellness. Let's remove those limitations, for the time is now to create your power transformation. Hey y'all, welcome to yet another episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. Today's guest is fabulous. She has so much that she's going to drop on all of us today, and I don't want you to miss it. I want to welcome you, particularly if this is your first time hearing the Power Transformation Podcast, and I welcome you to this community. Subscribe, follow, give it a 5-star rating, and share this episode with as many people as you know. And you know what else? Write a review. Leave a review so that I can know how I'm doing, what you got out of the podcast, and how else I can continue to bring you relevant and effective and inspiring episodes to you week after week. We're going to jump right into this, and we're going to start with our affirmation. I'll say it once, and then you repeat it. I am worthy of the success I have achieved and the success that is yet to come. Oh my goodness, you all. Today I have one of the most extraordinary guests ever who has graced us with her presence on the Power Transformation Podcast, and that is none other than Angela V. Harris, leadership coach, and more. And I say more only because of the fact there is so much more about her, and I'm going to get her to share a lot more. But Angela, I'm so happy you have joined us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Alethea. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much. It is an honor truly to have you up here. And I met Angela through a long time friend, a former coach, everything that I know personally, named John Narrell. And he spoke and just talked about Angela for a long time, even prior to him actually connecting us. So, Angela, I'm just glad we have finally been able to meet, and you have a story to tell. I spoke more offline with Angela the other week, but there's still a lot I don't know. And so we are going to be talking to her about her journey and how she empowers people even through this realm as a leadership coach, okay? But Angela, before we dive into that, I always ask a random question just so that the audience and I can get to know you more. But this is the question for you. Okay, Angela, if you could meet any historical figure, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
That's a really hard question because so many people come to mind. If I have to pick just one, excuse me, just thinking top of mind, Michelle Obama, because I feel like her story really resonates with me. And she just seems like such a warm spirit, such a warm and giving spirit. I just love the things that she's doing in the community.
Oh, that's wonderful. So I'm just going to put it out there because I believe in speaking life. If any of my listeners have
Ooh,
a connection with Mrs. Obama, let them know about Angela V. Harris. Send her this um, podcast interview. Mrs. Obama, Angela V. Harris wants to meet
yeah,
you.
yes, I would
And I am going
yes.
to believe that is going to happen. I would love to meet her too, but you put it out there. And so I'm going to have it so that that will happen one of these days. So
You,
uh,
yes.
I believe in 6 degrees of separation. If we talk to this person and that person, somebody knows her. And please, I can't wait till that day comes, Angela, where you come back to me and say, girl, I met Mrs. Obama, and I'm going to be excited about that. So that will happen for you. I'm excited.
I receive all of that. Thank you. I
Yes.
believe in the power of manifestation.
It certainly will happen. And so now, Angela, this is another loaded question, but I kind of gave you a heads up. But this is the question now. Angela, who is Angela V. Harris?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a woman of God. I'm a giver. I'm a supporter of women. I am a technologist at heart, and currently I'm employed as a leadership coach. So, a bit about my background. I've been passionate about technology since I was a young girl, and I studied technology in college and entered the workforce, not necessarily knowing that I was pursuing a male dominated industry. I just pursued my passion. And when I was a child, the STEM acronym wasn't even around. People just called it computers. And I was just always fascinated by computers. So I decided to make that my career path. And ultimately worked in corporate America and the tech industry for 24 years, but I made a pivot into my coaching business at towards the end of 2022. And so now I'm
Okay.
a leadership coach, and I primarily focus on working with Black women in the tech industry, helping them strategically navigate the corporate landscape so they can be seen, feel valued, and get promoted because I've walked in their shoes and I know what it's like when you're trying to navigate your career being a first or the
Mhm.
only Black woman or person in the room.
So, Angela, with this being said, that is a profound mission that you have. And so I'll just put it out there, acting like I don't know anything about you. So I'm going to say, well, Angela, you always had access to technology and computers, and this just came naturally for you. So, what I want you to do, Angela, take us back on a journey. Where are you from, and what sparked your interest in technology? Did you
Well,
always have it readily available at your fingertips?
that's a very good question. So I am from Washington, D.C., native Washingtonian.
Yes.
And my first exposure to a computer, I tell this story a lot. I remember I was about 6 years old and I was out, it was like a Saturday. I was out with one of my aunts and we were in a store. And, she was, going aisle for aisle. And we were in the, I guess, the technology aisle at the time. And I saw this machine. I don't know if I knew it was a computer, but I just knew I was just kind of fascinated and mesmerized by it. So I was that kid just like pressing the buttons, not knowing what I was doing. So again, I don't know if I knew it was a computer, but it just really caught my attention. So fast forward to age 9, I don't know what I was saying or doing, but my father purchased my first computer for me at age 9. So he saw something in me and wanted to support and nurture that. So he was the first person to see something in me and believe in me and nurture me. And I will say I do recognize the privilege in that because when I was a child, most most of my peers did not have computers. They were the ones
Wow.
playing like Sega and Nintendo, but I was the one playing, video games on my computer or teaching myself how to do things on my computer. So I was kind of like the oddball as a child because I was the only one in my circle that had a computer. And in school, we didn't have computer science education classes. So again, I was just kind of teaching myself how to
Ooh.
do everything on my computer with no formal background or no formal training. I did what was available at the time, but it's in no way on the level of what's available to young people today.
Wow. So I'm glad you said that because I purposely phrased it like that only because sometimes people will make assumptions that a person in your industry has always had it accessible, always got taught off of the gate, had lessons in it, had classes in it. But you, Angela, empowered yourself and said, I'm going to figure this out. And that is commendable because look at the path where it's brought you now. So, with that being said, and I'm going to go back some more into your journey and things of that nature, but let's kind of jump a little bit. When I said you're a leadership coach and you talked about, helping Black women specifically in the tech industry, what is for a person who has no idea, Angela, how would you describe a leadership coach? There's so many coaches out there and people here coaching. I'm a coach, you're a coach. There's so many coaches. But Angela, what is a leadership coach?
Well, first, I would just say coaching is really about maximizing a person's personal and professional potential. It's doing that inner work. And as a coach, I don't coaches really shouldn't give advice. Like I'm not going to tell you what to do. So I focus on more of the whole person coaching, getting to that inner inner being of you, understanding the why behind things, asking you to dig deep and uncover who you truly are as a person. So as a leadership coach, I want you to operate in your full potential. And one of the ways we do this is by making sure that you are clear on who you are as a person, identifying your core values. Because one thing that I've learned or seen is that oftentimes if we lose that fulfillment or that excitement about our jobs or what we're working on, it's because it's no longer aligned with our values, then we evolve and shift as individuals over time, and so do our values. So really getting clear on who you are, what your values are, creating a personal mission statement. So as you are navigating your life and career, you have these grounding principles. And on top of that, dealing with some of that self-doubt that may creep up is completely normal to think like, oh, I'm not ready yet, or I have to do these 5 things before I'm going to feel ready. Just understanding the why behind that and learning how to reframe some of those thoughts so you don't hold yourself back. And just ultimately setting you up for long-term success. So to make sure that once you stop working with me, you're still positioned to be successful. And also just reframing what it means to be a leader. People often associate leadership or leaders with the big titles, but we're all leaders of ourselves. The fact that we motivate ourselves to get out of bed in the morning or to do certain things, we're all leaders. So we need to reframe what a leader looks like.
Oh, reframing what a leader looks like. Now, that's that's good. And I want to talk about how you decided you wanted to be a leadership coach. But Angela, first and foremost, as a woman, as a Black woman, I don't know all of the stats in terms of technology. And I will even share with you, I was never really strong in math. But when I grew up down in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, I was a part of a club or group in middle school that specifically was catered to minorities in engineering or the computer field, tech field, etc. And it was called Chrome Club. And I
Mhm.
was really excited about that because I thought at one point I really wanted to do engineering. But unfortunately, and this is no disrespect to my past teachers, I didn't have strong math teachers who could really get me into really understanding certain math concepts. So I kind of put it on the back burner. So, my question to you, Angela, is out of all of the career fields, what made you say, I want to do this field? I can do it. I'm courageous enough to. So, how did that happen? And then tell us some of your first experiences in that field.
Well, when I started college, I was actually a computer science major, and I shared with you how I was self-taught. And I feel like my freshman year was a wake-up call for me because, again, I'm like one of maybe 2 or 3 other Black female students that were in the class, and
Wow.
primarily white males are in the class, and they were programming in languages that I'd never even heard of. So I feel like I started college or started my freshman year kind of behind the gate just because I didn't have that formal training
Mhm.
in, high school, junior high school. And I really struggled my freshman year in college. I got straight C's in my computer science classes. I
Wow.
was going to my professor for office hours and for tutoring and all that. Never got above a C.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so it was hard because in high school I was like an honor roll AB student, but my freshman year in college, my GPA was below 3.0. And so that was very difficult for me. And also I had my father in my ear reminding me of how much money he was paying for my tuition. So a lot of pressure to do well. And honestly, I was doing the best that I could, but I was not excelling at the level that I was used to. And when I started to look at my course of study for the remainder of my time in college, it was like programming class in this language and that language. And honestly, it wasn't very exciting to me.
Mhm.
And truth be told, when I was working on declaring my major for college, I was teetering between computer science and information systems. And I went to Drexel University in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And the unique thing about Drexel is that Drexel offers the co-op program. So you work for 6 months out of the year for 3 years. And so when you graduate with 18 months of work experience. But the computer science major also had the co-op, but they also had an option where you could graduate with your master's degree in 5 years. So I went into this thinking I already knew I wanted to get a master's degree at some point in my career. Why not do computer science so I can graduate with the co-op, the bachelor's, and the master's in 5 years? So that is what swayed me towards computer science when I felt like information systems was a better choice. But I'm just like, I'm gonna get all the bang for my buck.
Yes, that's right.
So, fortunately, computer science turned out to not be the right path for me, and I ended up changing my major to information systems my sophomore year in college, and honestly had a much better experience and loved every single class that I took as an information systems major. So, I share that to say, go with your gut feeling. Like, my gut was telling me computer science. My gut was telling me information systems, but I didn't listen to it. So I probably could have saved myself a lot of blood, sweat, and tears my freshman year had I listened to my gut.
Mhm. Yeah. But at least you knew how to use wisdom and go back and say, "Look, this is what I need to actually do." And it's worked out for you extraordinarily. And so before I transition into what got you to be a leadership coach, you've had so many successes in your career and you're still overall a generally young woman. And so and young y'all, I'm going to call people young as long as they're still doing stuff, being active, but no, seriously, Angela, in the big picture of things, you are still a young woman. It's not like you're 80 or 90 or anything, or even 60 or, 50s or anything like that. My whole point is this, Angela. Your journey has not always been smooth. There have been other things that have happened behind the scenes that have been pretty serious, but yet somehow you've had the resilience to overcome and to keep going. Share maybe one or two experiences that come to mind that really tested your faith, your courage, endurance, and everything, and how you overcame those in order to say, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to help others.
Well, I'll start from age 3. When I was 3 years old, my mother died very suddenly from stomach cancer, and I was raised by my father. And both my parents were educated in segregated schools, so I grew up hearing stories about not having access to opportunities, and my father always stressed the importance of education. So I knew from an early age that I was going to attend college. So I guess I work as hard as I do to, honor their legacy and just recognizing that because of them, that they didn't have certain opportunities. So I want to definitely take advantage of all opportunities that are available to me. And second, my father died from prostate cancer when I was
Oh,
at the start of my senior year in college.
oh wow, Angela. I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. Wow.
But thankfully, I was able to graduate, actually managed to graduate a term early. So that was a blessing in itself. And the fact that he was a steward of his money and made provisions to make sure that I was able to finish my education. So again, recognizing the privilege in that situation that I did not have to, drop out of school and just give up on my dream of obtaining my career. But I will share a story. I
Mm.
remember after my father passed away, I was working part-time for my co-op employer, and my very first day back to work after my father's funeral, I was laid off. Working part-time, I was laid off, and I eventually called the financial aid office and said, like, "Hey, here's my situation. Both my parents are now deceased. I've just been laid off from my part-time job. I have no income. Is there anything you can do?" And I wasn't receiving any scholarships. I received a small grant for my tuition, but outside of that, my father was using his retirement savings to fund my college education. And
Oh.
I remember the person at the financial aid office saying, "Well, I'm sorry for your loss, but there's nothing we could do." And I'm just thinking, you just had a meeting with all the seniors telling us the job market's really bad this year, so it may be even harder to find a full-time job after graduation. And they were essentially telling me to take out a loan. So you want me to take out a loan, not knowing if I'm going to have a job to even
Mhm.
pay that loan back. And to me, that just did not make any sense, but it also planted a seed in me for wanting to start a scholarship. Like, I didn't know how it was going to happen or when, but again, recognizing my privilege in the situation that I was still had the ability to finish my degree, and other students in that same situation may not have had that ability, to plant a seed or a desire in me to want to start a scholarship. Fast forward, I think it was 2014, we talked about manifestation.
Mhm.
I believe in writing down goals, and it wasn't necessarily a
Yes.
smart goal, so I guess I'm breaking the rules in that sense, but I literally wrote down a goal in a spreadsheet that I keep that said to sponsor a child's tuition. And again, I didn't know what it was gonna look like, how much it may be. And fast forward to 2017, I remember having a conversation with someone at Drexel that happens to work in the institutional advancement office, and I asked the question, "How does someone start a scholarship?" Because oftentimes you hear about the billion-dollar, million-dollar donations to universities, and so it seems unattainable or out of reach for the average person. And I learned that Drexel has something what is called a current use scholarship, and you can fund it at the $2,500 level or $5,000 level. And I knew for me that if I did something, I wanted the scholarship to support Black women in technology. And so I literally took a plunge and wrote a check for $5,000 out of my bank account to start my scholarship.
Oh, wow, Angela. Oh my goodness. That I am usually not at a loss for words, but that is remarkable to me.
Thank you.
How did it make you feel when you thought about the fact, wait a minute, this was a desire I had years prior and it finally came to fruition? Tell me how you felt in that moment.
It's really hard to put into words. It's indescribable, honestly. It's like a full circle moment. And honestly, I'll just give you a quick update.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Go ahead.
they started the scholarship in 2017, and I'm all about, paying it forward and giving back. So as I started telling friends and family, like, "Hey, I did this thing," they're like, "Oh, I want to support you." And at the time, they would have to write a check to donate to the university. No one writes checks these days. And I went
Uh-huh.
back to the university and said that people want to support me, but they don't want to write a check. And so they were gracious enough to create a donation link for people to go online and donate. And then I'm always thinking big and trying to do something new and exciting. And in 2018, I came up with the idea that I wanted to start paying my birthdays forward. I feel like I've been very blessed. I'm fortunate. I have everything that I need, but I wanted to challenge my family and friends to donate to my scholarship instead of giving me gifts or money for my birthday.
Mhm.
And again, the university was very gracious. They created a GoFundMe type page
Oh.
for my scholarship. And essentially, I have no formal fundraising experience, and I was able to raise $5,000 for my scholarship. So in 2018, I was able to give out two $5,000 scholarship awards for my scholarship, and I've maintained that trend. And so, as of about a couple of weeks ago, I just got an update from the university. I have given out over $120,000 in scholarships since
Ooh.
the scholarship started in 2017.
Oh, girl. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. To God be the glory. All of that. Wow.
And
Y'all
actually, to God be the glory, because when I went to university to,
hey.
share this big idea, again, like, I didn't have any formal
Mhm.
fundraising experience, but God had put it on my heart, and I knew that it was
Hallelujah.
going to be successful. They didn't necessarily know it was going to be successful, but I knew
Girl,
that it was
yes.
going to be successful.
Mm. She ooh, y'all better be taking this. Y'all look, I'm see when I had the initial conversation with Angela, I told her, just like I tell all of my guests, I say, just tell me a little bit about your story because I want to be authentic in my reactions and I want to learn more. So when I'm telling you, this is the first time I'm hearing this, and I read up on her, things like that, but there are certain things, of course, I don't know. And so this is the first time I'm hearing about this scholarship piece. And wow, this is quite remarkable. And I am so grateful that you shared that because it can give somebody else hope to say, I have this idea, I want to write it down. Don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but I'm going to believe it happens. And I'm big on writing things as well,
Yes,
writing
yes.
down the vision. Certain things are
Advocate,
already
yes.
happening. It is so powerful. Oh my. So
Right, like I had no idea that just writing that down back in 2014 would result in, like I said, 120,000 at Drexel, and I've since started a similar scholarship at LaSalle University.
oh,
So I'm also giving students at LaSalle University scholarships now.
look at how she slid that in because Angela's humble and she's not going to gloat or brag on herself, but how she slid it in, just not at one university, but two now. And Angela, I would typically say this till the end, but can you just say now, since we're on the actual topic, can people still donate to that? And if so, how would they go about doing
Yes,
it?
yes, they can. The easiest way is to go to my website, angelavharris.com, and on the About page or the Services page, I have links to both scholarships.
Good. Thank you.
I'll
Thank
just
you
add
so
one
much.
thing. LaSalle has an extra step that you have to do. There's a direct link for Drexel, but LaSalle, you actually have to write out in the, I think the other category that the money goes to the Angela V. Harris Scholarship at LaSalle, but there's links on my website to donate to both scholarships.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I will make sure to have your website link in the show notes also. But wow. Okay. So here you are, and I'm using this word for a purpose, not to evoke pain, but just for a purpose. Here you are, literally orphaned by your senior year of college. Okay. Do you have brothers and sisters? I didn't ask you
I
that.
do not. I would have had an older
Okay.
brother, but he died as an infant, so I was raised as an
Oh,
only child.
wow. You've had all of these losses that while you have other relatives and friends, nobody else has this same experience in your family in terms of
Mhm,
losing these two people as your parents or even losing him as your brother. So,
mhm.
with that being said, Angela, post your father's passing and he being all you knew in terms of a parent who raised you for the most part, Angela, how did you continue to say, I'm going to slay and knock out these dreams and goals despite facing incredible grief? And for a person like me who's also been on a grief journey, not through parents, but others, grief is different for everybody. I don't know how it feels to be in your shoes, but everybody's grief journey is different. So, what is it, even to this day? It's not like you just wake up and say, oh, I'm not grieving anymore. It's always a part of you. So, even now to the present day, Angela, how do you continue thriving and going when life can knock you down, or the fact you've had to live in a state of not having your parents for all of these years?
That is a very good question. And I would say definitely leaning on my faith. And
Mhm.
I wasn't a very religious person growing up, but the year my father died, I really started turning to God more. So I lean very heavily on my faith and just also, recognizing that I am my parents' legacy and wanted to honor
Mhm.
their legacy. As I mentioned, they both grew up in segregated schools. My mother was raised in Greenwood, South Carolina, so the Jim Crow South,
Mm.
and my father was raised in DC and
Mhm.
served in the military. He was a Navy veteran and served in World War II. And I remember numerous stories about the racial slurs that he endured
Wow.
in the military. So just knowing their stories and knowing their backgrounds, I just feel like I have to do this. I have to make them
Mhm.
proud, even though they're not here.
My goodness. Wow. And what then compelled you, Angela, although you've explained to us what a leadership coach is, how did you embark on your journey of saying, I want to help other people in this area? What sparked the passion and the idea to be a leadership coach?
Honestly, I would have never envisioned myself being a coach. And when Angela started college as an 18-year-old freshman, she always thought that she would be in corporate America, rising that corporate ladder, quote unquote. So it was something I never envisioned for myself. And as I entered the workplace and started to recognize that I was the first or only, that isolation and not having mentors, and then on top of that,
Mhm.
not having supportive managers, and just having to, navigate and do a lot of things on my own, again, without my parents, just kind of having to figure it out to the best of my ability. I naturally started mentoring other women just because I wanted them to learn from what I experienced and I wanted them to have support. So I was very passionate about mentoring over the years. And I think it was in 2020, I did a archetype assessment, and the archetype profile came back as a pusher. And the way they
Mm.
described it, it said, "You're the person that's always supporting, encouraging, motivated." So I'm like, that kind of sounds like coaching. And how can I start, I guess, monetizing some of the things that I already do? So that got me curious about the field of coaching. And in 2021, I started formal coach training through IPEC, which is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and became certified through them. And what, I guess, propelled me into full-time coaching and full-time entrepreneurship was honestly a bad experience with a toxic work environment. And honestly, when I look at my career, I feel like all of my roles or companies have been in toxic environments,
Mm.
sadly. And in 2022, it just really came to a tipping point for me. Towards the end of 2021, I remember being in an all hands meeting,
Mm.
and my senior leadership team made some very public and offensive comments. And I was one of two Black people that were on that call, and my manager was also one of the people involved in the comments. And I was the only Black person on my team. And that incident just left me feeling very unsettled and very uneasy, because how do you work for someone that has publicly shown that they have a bias and you're the
That's right.
only Black person on the team? So I did my best to try to, brush it off and move forward, just because that it wasn't the first time something like that has happened. But I guess because it had happened, so many years in my career,
Mhm.
I just couldn't let this incident go, and it just lingered in my body. And I just remember just really feeling like sick to my stomach every day going to work. I was dragging myself out of bed. At a certain point, I recognized that I was having issues concentrating and focusing and completing my task at work. But everything that I was involved with outside of work, I was comfortable. I was able to show up. I was able to execute. But anything that I was doing at work, any new tasks that were assigned to me after that incident, my brain just could not process or execute.
Mm.
So fast forward to February of 2022, actually February 8th of 2022, I'm diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm.
And I firmly believe that the cancer was a result of the stress my body was internalizing, because 6 months prior, there was no tumor. 6 months later, there's a 4.4 centimeter tumor in my left breast.
Ooh. Wow.
And the
That's
only
a
thing that
good sized
transpired
tumor.
within that time was the incident at work.
The only thing that had transpired was the incident at work. You know, look, that could be a whole show in and of itself, is how cancer can be caused by so many factors. Because there's something about, as humans, cancer cells already live in us, but
Yes,
don't
yes,
awaken unless
yes,
something causes them
right.
to.
Right.
And
Like I said, remember I told you I had this unsettled feeling. I didn't know that that was because the tumor was me.
oh my gosh. What how
Thankfully
Mhm.
thankfully, it was detected early, so I tell all women when doctors say early detection saves
Yeah.
lives and get your mammograms, the cancer was detected through a mammogram. There was no lump. I do monthly self-exams.
Oh,
I never felt a lump. The cancer was detected through a mammogram. So when people say get your mammograms.
wow. So you didn't feel a lump.
I never
That
felt
is
a lump.
something else.
No.
How did you respond when you found out you were diagnosed with cancer? Was it more of, "Oh my goodness," or was it more like, "Get it out, what do I have to do?"
Yeah, I remember that phone call very vividly. And I
Mm,
remember there, I mean, obviously when she said the nurse called me, she was like DCIS. And okay, I'm like, what is that? So she kind of says it, and it's like this, your heart just sinks, in that moment. And it's like once I compose myself, I'm like, okay, what do we have to do? So I'm like taking notes, writing down like here's you have this appointment on this day, you have this appointment on this day. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fight this. And I
that's
just
right.
kind of that's the mentality or the mindset that I went into it with. Like, I'm gonna take care of this.
Wow. Yes, and especially too knowing the history of your mom having had stomach cancer,
Yes,
dad having
yes.
prostate cancer, you
Mm.
like, "Mm-mm, no."
Ooh, let me tell you, I'm so glad you
Uh-huh.
you mentioned that. So the anniversary of my mother's death is February 24th,
Okay.
1983. I was diagnosed February 8th, 2022. So to think that we were kind of walking, in a sense, parallel journeys, hers ended in death. I'm still here. It's because of my mother's prayers
That's right.
that I am still here.
Look, look, y'all, I am very open on the podcast with the fact that I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I have podcast listeners who have all types of faiths, and I'm fine with that, and even guests also. But when it comes to prayers and knowing that generational prayers do carry over, they really, really do. That is not
Yeah,
a myth. That is the truth, is that generational prayers from people that we may not have known or people who were alive at a certain time and then passed away, they
yes,
do carry. And so that is what Angela means by
yes.
her mother's prayers, is
And,
because those
yeah.
prayers have kept you.
And I just want to add something to that.
Yes.
So the day that I went for the biopsy, I went to the restroom and I just started praying. And I thought about my mother. I thought about her older sister who had died from breast cancer when I was about 8 years old. I
Oh,
also thought about my mother's twin sister who also died from cancer. So they
oh
were on
my.
my mind and on my heart. And I was just, I can't remember what I prayed, but I just remember, being in the bathroom praying to prepare myself for the biopsy. And I'm on the table, they're doing the biopsy, and I'm just in tears. Not tears from being in pain because they numb you. So I wasn't necessarily
Mm,
feeling any pain or anything, but I believe it was the nurse that was in the room. She was, rubbing my arm and comforting me. I think before the tears even started, but I knew in that moment that it wasn't her rubbing me and touching me. I just felt this presence of, you talked about generational prayer. I just felt this presence. So I knew it wasn't her that was, rubbing my arm and
mm.
comforting me. It was my ancestor. I don't know how many, but I just felt this surrounded by this presence in the room. And that is what brought me to tears. And I really haven't told other people that. So I'm sharing that because someone probably needs to hear that. But I just remember feeling comforted. And I guess a sense of knowing that I was covered. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I was covered in that moment.
Yes. Wow. Oh, sometimes I know that I've heard people to say, I just had a feeling or something felt like this, or I had a sense of this. That is so real because that's something in that sense. We are physical beings living a spiritual, no, we are spiritual beings living a physical experience. And what I mean by that is we, what's on the outside of us is just a shell, but at the core of who we are is what will live forever, even beyond this physical realm. So I wholeheartedly
Mhm.
believe and know, even from some experiences I've had in the past with near death experiences, literally, knowing that this realm and this side is not all there is that there is more beyond what we can see with the human eye. So I believe wholeheartedly what you say is that in that room, those people that loved you and the love still carries on were there and had an
Mhm.
awareness in that moment as to what was happening. And I am just so grateful, Angela, that you are here. Where are you now on your journey? Is it totally gone? Did you have to have chemo? What was the process and the steps? And what have doctors said as of now in 2024? Where are you in that state of health?
Yeah, so my cancer again was detected very early, and my treatment plan consisted of having a lumpectomy to remove the lump from my left breast. And then after that, I went through, I want to say like 5 or 6 weeks of radiation. So
Mm,
I am cancer free.
hallelujah. And I'm going to believe that it shall be that way for the rest of your earthly life, where
Thank
no
you. I
more
received that. I
of that
received
journey
that.
and that you can break that pattern. God may use you very well to break that pattern of cancer in your family.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm so glad that you got early detection, and men and women get
Yes,
detected for cancers. Men go and get your annual checks for your prostate. Even some men get breast cancer.
yes.
So just don't think it happens only to women. Angela, in working with your clients over the years, this may be a loaded question, but don't try not to overthink it. This is based on your experience. But how have your clients, how have the people with whom you mentor, work, etc., how have you seen them transformed by what you provide to them?
I would definitely say increased confidence
Mm,
because a lot of them are working in environments where their skills and their work is being undervalued, and that weighs on your confidence and your self-esteem over time. So I would definitely say self-confidence, having that support, someone believing in them and, shining the mirror to all the amazing work that they're doing. I've had clients that have, negotiated job offers, significant job offers with salary increases, landed new
mhm.
roles.
Okay. And do some of your clients follow up with you long after your sessions? Like, so this is what I'm trying to ask. If a person said, I'm in tech, I'm a Black woman, even if not, they may just say, hey, I think I could learn a thing or two from her, or need support.
Mhm.
How would they go about connecting with you? And do you do individual coaching? Is it group coaching? Do you offer different workshops throughout the year? What type of programs do you offer?
That's a great question. I offer a few programs. So I do individual coaching, and my individual coaching is typically a 6 month coaching arrangement. Outside of that, I also offer a group coaching program, and I also do a variety of workshops as well. And I'm in the process of launching my very first podcast, which will be released on March the 8th, and it's
Yes,
called
congratulations.
Yes, it's called the Flow Podcast, and Flow stands for Fearlessly Leading Our Way. And in the podcast, I'll be interviewing a variety of Black women leaders and having them share their stories and their journeys. And my hope is that the listeners will see themselves reflected in the people on the show, just because we have such very unique experiences. And sometimes you just need to see what's possible for you.
Oh, that's exciting. March 8th. And please, Angela, either text or email me as it gets closer so I can remember that
Yes.
date, because I will definitely subscribe and
Yes, thank
everything, and I will
you.
tell people about it. Now, Angela, on a more lighthearted note, this is what the people can't see, but I see. You have a sash on you, and it looks like something that a beauty queen or somebody in a pageant would wear. Tell us about that sash. What is that all about? What's the purpose of having it? And how can we possibly get involved to help support this?
Yes, I am competing in the Miss Corporate America competition. It is a business-friendly competition for corporate professionals and women entrepreneurs, and I am representing my hometown of Washington, D.C. My
Yes.
title is Miss Northwest Washington, D.C., and the actual competition takes place in June in Orlando, Florida on June 22nd. And I would love for your listeners to support me. There is a People's Choice category. And currently I'm in first place for the People's Choice category. So if they
Yes.
are interested in voting, they can visit bit.ly MSNWDC to give me a People's Choice vote. And the information is also on my website at angelaviharris.com.
Oh,
And my pageant platform is focused on advocacy for Black women in technology. 56% of women in technology leave the field during the mid-career years, which is about 10 to 20 years into their career.
mhm.
And the number of Black women in technology is 2.2%. It used to be 3%, but now it's dipped
It's
to
less.
2.2%. And honestly, when it was 3%, it hovered at 3% for at least the last 10 years. So despite all of the DEI efforts and pledges to
Yeah.
increase representation and to get more women to pursue careers in technology, the numbers are not shifting. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about coaching and supporting Black women in mentorship is because I essentially fell into that mid-career, leaving technology because of the lack of support, the toxic work environments, being undervalued. So essentially, the work that I do now, I'm trying to be the person I needed when I was younger. I see what has happened. I know I see the gaps. I understand the gaps, and so I want to fill those gaps.
So, Angela, and I wasn't going to ask this, but it's piqued my curiosity, especially when we are talking about empowerment and all of that. I'm shocked to hear it's dipped because I'm thinking it's soaring based off of DEI efforts. What is one of the main reasons why people are leaving? Is it because of what you said in terms of them not feeling empowered or not having the best work environments? I'm sure it's not one answer, but
Right.
what have you heard or learned about being the main answer why it's dipped?
Like you said, it's most likely a combination. I can only speak on, my personal
Yeah.
experience. Like again, going for promotion. I have a master's degree in information technology
Mm.
leadership, yet whenever I would try to get promoted or apply for manager or leadership roles, I was always told I didn't meet the competencies. Yet some of the people that were the hiring managers didn't have a college degree or had completely unrelated college degrees, but I don't meet the competencies for the role, or I'm told I need more experience.
Mm.
And the
Wow.
pay gap, there was data that came out last year that said it will take 100 years for Black women to reach pay equity in the United States. And we've been having pay equity discussions for years. Black women will lose close to $1 million over the course of their 40-year career.
Mm. We got serious work to do. Serious work to do. And I commend you for doing your part in bringing not just awareness, but actually helping these women, specifically Black women in the tech industry, find solutions that work best for them and where they want to go and what they want
Mhm.
to do, and really empowering them and giving them the tools they need and coaching them to really pave their path in a way that will really get them where they intend to be. Angela, as one of the closing questions, this is what I'd like to ask you. What are you most proud of in your life up to this point?
That's a loaded question. I guess I have to say, first of all, still being alive, number one,
Mm.
considering everything that I've
Mhm.
experienced in my life. And I guess I would have to say the scholarship and the work that I've done at Drexel, I was
Okay.
pleasantly surprised when I was told that it's been over $120,000 that I've been able to award to
Mhm.
students over the years.
And what have you learned about you the most over these years?
That I get stuff done.
Girl, you better
I get
say
it
so.
done.
You get it done. You put in that work and you get it done. That's for oh, I love it. And you were so smooth with it. I get stuff done. You better say so. You really do. Angela, I think that's it for me. I think that was icing on the cake. And I want to just thank you and audience. I have to tell you, you've heard my journey too. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 17 years. I still have property up there. I still go back and forth once a month to handle business and other things there. But Angela and I know a couple of mutual people, and we didn't even know that until we connected. The world is small. That's why it pays to treat people right and to
Yes,
have
yes.
good character because you don't know who knows who. And you don't have to say a mumbling word sometimes, and you can find out people know different people. But I bring that up because Washington, D.C. will always have a special place in my heart. And when I say DC, and she and I laughed about this. I mean, DC, like in DC, just like her, not on the outskirts, but in DC. I lived there for 17 years. At one point, I also used to work in Washington, DC for DC Public Schools, which I loved. I loved my career in DCPS. But I share that too because I have native Washingtonians who are cousins of mine or friends. But Angela, I am just so happy that our paths cross. I appreciate your style. I appreciate your grace, your intellect, but just how sincere in heart you are with everything that you've experienced. You could have chosen just to isolate yourself or to be a selfish, bitter person, but you're the opposite. You have taken challenges in your life and you have really changed them to help the better good and people. And I just want to continue to just pray and hope the best for you. And one last thing I want to do is if a person is listening and say that they want to reach out for a consultation or coaching, is your website the best way to connect with you or what? And are you accepting new clients?
Yes, my website is the best way to connect with me, AngelaVHarris.com. There's a link to book a discovery call. And I
Okay.
am accepting new clients right now.
Okay, perfect. And I'm thinking of a few people already who are in the tech field that I'm just gonna tell them, y'all, listen to this episode specifically because you definitely offer some valuable jewels. Again, Angela, thank you so much. It was an honor being in your presence. I will definitely keep in touch and I welcome you to do the exact same thing.
Thank you, Alethea. I'm looking forward to meeting up with you the next time you're in DC.
Will do. Thank you once again to Angela V. Harris. She is outstanding. And y'all, let's continue to support her in all of her endeavors and her upcoming projects. I'm so excited for everything coming her way and that you have walked away. This is my hope that you have walked away from her interview having even more confidence, being even more encouraged to do and seek all that you set out to do. So, Angela, I am so proud of you. Let's go ahead and close out. I'll see you again next Wednesday. Every Wednesday, new episodes drop right here on the Power Transformation Podcast. And thank you for being a part of this community. I'll say the affirmation once and you repeat it. I am worthy of the success I have achieved and the success that is yet to come. If you enjoyed today's show, then you don't want to miss an episode. So follow the Power Transformation Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you usually listen, and remember to rate and review. I also invite you to connect with me on social media at Alethea Felton. That's at ALETHEAFELTON. Until next time, remember to be good to yourself and to others.